welcome to Mums at the Table, the place where a whole bunch of women get together and talk about all kinds of things, life, faith, food, relationships, all that good stuff. Today I'm joined by Shona.
Hi.
Hello. Rachel.
Hello.
And Melody.
Hi.
Good to see you, Melody. I haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't been on in ages. Did you have a good holiday? I did. It was really nice.
Speaking of holidays, what are you all doing for Easter? I want to know.
Lots of chocolate eggs, lots of hot cross buns. No, we'll be renowing. Still.
You'll need chocolate for that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, we're almost done.
Good.
Almost done.
Yay.
Yeah, I'll probably just be eating chocolate in the cupboard. No. We're going. I've still got young kids. We hide where we stuff our faces. We're going camping. It's something we do sort of around Easter every year.
Oh,
so,
I love that. That's fun.
It is good with the kids. Good to get them out of the house.
In a tent, in a caravan.
We are campers in a tent.
Ooh, committed.
All
impressive.
I know.
All in one tent?
Yes.
I
know.
Were you going camping as well, Melody?
No, I'm actually going to be working. But I'm going to be actually promoting Mums at the Table in Perth, so check out Facebook to find out where we are.
You committed to the cause. I love it.
Good on you. Well, we all know that Easter can be a very tempting time of year with so much discounted chocolate on the shelves. Rachel, yes. But if you're looking for healthy and delicious recipes that won't give your kids that sugar high, then we have an Everyday Essentials cookbook to give away for free. And all you have to do is email us your name and the title Everyday Essentials to hello@mumsathetable.com. The details are all there on your screen. Well, on today's show, we're going to be talking about how to protect your kids from online predators with our resident psychologist, Collett Smart. Now, if you've recently heard of something called the Momo Challenge, or if you're concerned about the dangers of sexting, which, yeah, they're quite scary, then you should definitely join our conversation today. And later, we're talking to Elizabeth Chapman from the Sustainable Period Project, who is empowering women to make menstrual hygiene choices that will protect the environment, help our health, and save us money. And that's something that all women can benefit from. But if you want a quick and easy recipe right now, then look no further because Gia and Olive are making some avocado sushi.
What are we going to make? Can you see what we're going to make? This is one of your... Sushi! We are going to make sushi, and this is another kid's lunchbox idea. I was trying to figure out a way we can make it at home because it is quite expensive and it's a craze for kids. So what I did is I used brown rice, and if the packet says 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water for brown rice, I just add a little bit extra water, like a ½ cup or something, just to help it get a bit more mushy. All I do after it's finished cooking, I grab some coconut sugar instead of white sugar, and I use rice wine vinegar, and I mix that around until it becomes like a liquidy, mixed through really well. It doesn't become a paste, it's just liquid. So we're going to mix this through, okay? Can you tell everyone what we're going to do?
We're going to mix this through.
Yes, and this will give it a bit of that sweetness and that vinegary flavour that most sushi rice has. Okay, so we got our nori sheet. And the trick with the sushi is to actually flatten it out but leave a section up the top so that when you're rolling it... Yep, good work, that's it.
By myself.
And we'll put some avocado on it. Just use your fingers, get them dirty. Some avocado, don't smush the avocado. Then you roll it, and these bamboo mats are so cheap. You just buy them at the supermarket next to the section, the nori section, and it helps you just roll them, and it helps roll them really well. You become like a sushi chef. Sushi chef. That's it. See, look at that. It makes a big roll. Now you can wet it, and I just use a little bit of water. In this case, I'm using some of the vinegar or the rice wine vinegar, and I just close it that way. It usually just closes anyway. I just take off the end bit. So you cut the sushi into little sushi rolls. Yay! There you go, your delicious sushi. I love making it super special by putting some black sesame seeds and some white sesame seeds. I don't know why, it just gives it more of a Japanese flavour, doesn't it? There you have it, your sushi. And you and I are going to keep going so I can help him. See you next time. All right, let's do this together.
Well, it's time to get more serious now and talk about an issue that's becoming more prevalent and dangerous, and that's childhood suicide and online predators. And a recent trend among schools known as the Momo Challenge combines these two factors to produce a potentially deadly combination. And we're joined by Collett to discuss this. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Before we ask you some hard-hitting questions, I just wanted to ask Rachel, do you mind just walking us through what the Momo Challenge actually is?
Yeah, so first of all, I haven't actually watched it happen, and I know people have posted it to show what actually goes on, and I haven't because I'm choosing not to watch it. But from what I have read through YouTube Kids and through other mediums, somehow, I guess, hackers out there have got this little creature, really bright eyes, female, looks really grotesque, almost satanic. To me, she looks satanic, and comes on and suggests how kids could commit suicide / risk the right way to do it. All that sort of stuff that's really frightening for a parent to think that their kids could be watching in a kid environment.
There is a caveat as well. It's like if they don't do it, then that Momo creature thing is going to come and harm them or harm
their
family.
And also it starts off quite subtly, like it might be, it doesn't start off straight away saying, you know, commit suicide. It's like jump off the slide or do this, and it builds up and up and up and up as they go. It's like a challenge almost.
So like obviously this is terrifying stuff, and no parent wants to you know, have their kids talking to this creature. But Collett, I just wanted to ask you, with sort of, I guess this is all happening on phones and laptops and things like that, what are some of the strategies we can actually be using to protect our kids from something like this?
So just, if I can just add something quickly, this Momo character actually comes from Japanese art originally. Right. So it's actually a sculpture that someone in Japan created, and it's now been used as this character. Right. But what we're seeing, not just in this Momo Challenge, the Momo Challenge actually isn't new. It surfaced last year, middle of last year. We see other things like the Blue Whale Challenge and so on. So really I want to talk about the broader issue here. We have children who are terrified of certain things that they see online because they're shown it at sleepovers, at camps. I've seen articles where people have been shown it at school camps.
Even on the bus, you know, you don't have say over your kids, and what older kids are showing them on the bus.
Yes. Yeah. So there's not enough of a link in terms of some of the research that we've looked at that it is a direct cause of suicide, particularly this Momo Challenge. However, I have to say anything that is a risk for young people, we need to take seriously. And I am concerned about children at risk. Children who are already anxious, who are already fearful. Vulnerable. Children who are vulnerable to suicidal thinking. These are the children that we need to look out for. But as parents, I think we often have this idea that it's other people's children. We never think my children might be at risk of being exposed to this. And so the things we've got to do is look at two areas. We look at relationship, our relationship with our children, and then what are we doing with technology with our children. So for me, the first thing is children are afraid that if they tell their parents something that they've seen or been shown, we are going to take their devices away. So rather than lose a device which is like their arm, they won't tell. And so we preempt that. I actually was talking to my youngest, my 11-year-old, in the car yesterday, just because I thought, you know what, we need to have this discussion again. It's not a one-off discussion. We don't have it once. We find lots of opportunities. And I said to him,
I think that's something we need to remember as parents, is that you can't just say something once, can you? I mean, I'm still saying to my 19-year-old things that I was saying to him, but probably more expanded now when he was 15, and I'm just broadening it out and adding more dialogue into it.
Shoni, you've hit the nail on the head in the sense that if we don't do it young, then our children aren't used to us doing that as they get older.
But I'm just wondering, the problem with these challenges, right, they're actually telling the kids not to tell their parents.
So this is where we say to our children, have you been shown something, or have you seen something that makes you uncomfortable, afraid, that's inappropriate, that I want you to know that you can always tell me. I'm not going to take your device away. If you tell me you have courage, that's brave. I'll be very proud of you. And sometimes there are people who tell you not to tell Mommy and Daddy. You always tell us. Then we do things like make sure our children know that they can speak to wider networks. Grandma, auntie, uncles, older siblings, much older siblings, adult siblings. that they can trust. Give them permission to talk to others. And then what are we doing with our children's devices? Are we aware of what they're looking at, what they're watching? YouTube is out for young children. YouTube is not a safe place for young children.
So what age should YouTube be?
YouTube is actually for much older teens. Some of the age ratings, depending on your country, is 17 plus.
Right.
So our children are seeing things spliced into videos.
I was just going to say that because this is actually one of the questions I had written down, because there are videos like with Peppa Pig, and as soon as the parents walk away, suddenly there are these, you know, oh, you should
and things.
commit suicide, things like this. It's really scary.
We're seeing them spliced into, you know, children's
Innocent
cartoons.
Yeah, yeah.
And so technology out of bedrooms, in public spaces where you can be aware of what is your child watching, what are they doing. Sit and watch things with your child.
I think
Play
that's
with
the
your
tricky
child.
thing. So many people feel time poor, and that's their babysitter, that's their support in a way. And so, I mean, there's no question for it. We still have to monitor our kids and what they're watching, but I know that that can be a real challenge for parents.
And look, I don't have a problem if you've got a little baby you're trying to feed or you're trying to cook and your child for a time is watching something. I'm okay with that. But be fully aware of what your child is watching. What have you put on? What game? Have you screened the game? Have you set up parental controls? Have you blocked inappropriate or adult content on their iPads, on their phones? It's being vigilant and checking up on that. I know sometimes it can feel exhausting, but that is our role. That's where we're at as parents. It's not a one-off check and think, oh, the device is safe. It's a continual conversation, continual checking and looking and making sure that you're aware of what your child's doing.
But I like what you said about how YouTube is out, because sometimes we use YouTube as well, because for all the cartoons and stuff like that for my child to watch. But then now thinking about it, maybe we should go more towards like the mainstream channels and their catch-up TV.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's probably a little bit safer.
Things where we know we've actually screened and they kind of already have a boundary around them in that,
It can't be spliced into.
Absolutely.
I think when you talked about awareness before, that is definitely the key there, and just, knowing what your child is watching. But I think another risk associated with the use of mobile phones and technology is sexting, and I want to talk about that now, because I think a lot of parents assume that, you know, only teenagers that talk to strangers on the internet are at risk here, but it's actually happening to young kids and increasingly more commonly between like classmates and things like that. And I just wanted to ask you, Collett, like, sexting is a very vague term. Is like a young child sending another child like an eggplant, you know, emoji. Is that sexting? Is it something that simple sexting, or is it much broader than that?
Look, sexting it's broad, but it's anything to do with a sexually motivated or sexually explicit image, or anything to do with a child or a young person intentionally sending nudity or nudes to somebody else. And this is where we talk about also with young children and young teens don't need FaceTime. They don't need to be able to, a 10-year-old doesn't need to have access to FaceTime their friends. So this is again where we're aware of technology. I also just want to pull back a little bit. There can be a little bit of hysteria in the media about sexting that, and let me just say, young people don't use the term sexting. They say sending naked selfies, nudes, dirty pics. They've got other terms. Sexting is old people's language. Oops. But in saying that, there's a bit of hysteria that every second teenager is sexting. That's actually not true. No. There's some meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is kind of the gold standard of looking at data. This data's looked at over 100,000 young people.
Wow, okay.
There's actually only about 14% of young people actually send naked images. About a quarter receive it. That's not hard to figure out why. You know, somebody sends a naked image at lunchtime, half the class has got it, you know, by the end of the day. But the concern for me is that when young people are sending naked selfies or naked images as opposed to, say, adults in a consenting relationship, the problem is the risks for them. We have revenge porn happening. We have young people being hurt because they've been broken up with. So it's sent on. Sending non-consensually sending an image to somebody or forwarding on an image is actually against the law.
Okay, repeat that, because we were having this discussion before about what is against the law and what's not. And, you know, somebody who's 18 who's been sent a nude picture, whether they want it or not, if it's on their phone, that's Pedophile?
By a minor.
By a minor?
Yes.
That's pedophilia, isn't it?
And that's where we've got to talk to our older teens, just particularly if they're dating younger people. That's very important for them to know. But we've also just got to be careful about the language we use around this idea of sexting, that we don't get hysterical around our teenagers. Talk to them about what's going on with your peers. Open up the dialogue, that they're not afraid to talk to us about what's going on in their peer group. There's a lot of reasons for sexting, but coercion is definitely one of them, where young people feel that they want to be liked by a girl or a boy. They try to gain status by doing it. Some of them just want attention, and then obviously, you know, being pressured by somebody. Some of them see it as what they call a sexy present, because they think now, you know, I'll get that person's attention. Some of them see it as part of a relationship. The small percentage that are engaged in this behaviour do see it as part of a relationship. However, my concern is for young people. They don't see that many of their relationships don't last.
And it's not healthy either, is it? No. Because, you know, as Christians, we look at our bodies as the temple, and we our own self-esteem, and all those things that we want to hold morally right for ourselves. And sexting just blows a hole in the water, doesn't it?
And I think, you know, in a mature relationship, there's a different conversation to have around that. But for young people, sending an image to somebody who maybe didn't even want it, you are imposing something on them. Girls assume all boys want naked images. There are many boys trying to do the right thing and going, you know what, I'm trying to value you as a person. I'm trying to figure out who I am. I'm trying to respect you as a woman. And I just, you know, many young people don't even know how to say hello to their crush. Never mind. Boys. Never mind navigating a naked selfie. So, you know, getting them to understand that relationships are about respect. It's about mutual commitment. It's about long-term commitment, actually. And it's not just about somebody's body. It's about what interests them, what their passions are. And so it actually then becomes part of the broader relationship and respectful relationship conversation.
It sounds a lot like the same strategies that you will have with a child before mobile phones about, you know, what you should do about avoiding teenage sex. It's the same kind of conversation.
Yes.
Very similar conversation. And sorry, we have to wrap up there. But thank you very much, Collett, for your practical insights. That was very, very valuable.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. I know I've certainly learned a lot about, you know, bringing up kids in the future. But if anything has triggered any negative emotions or feelings for you, just remember that there are services out there to support you, and the numbers can be found at the bottom of your screen. And also, if there's something that we haven't addressed, or if you have a question for Collett or any of the ladies, please send us an email or a message via Facebook or Instagram, because we'd love to hear your thoughts on what is quite a concerning issue. Now, if you did find this conversation valuable, Collett actually has a book that talks about all of these things and much more. It's called They'll Be Okay, 15 Conversations to Help Your Child Through Troubled Times. And getting quick, because there's only a limited amount of copies available. So if you'd like to get your hands on one, please email us at hello@mumsattetable.com. Well, to change the tune a little bit now, it's time for Life Tips with Lisa, and she's talking all about personal change.
Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
And we're talking about something today that I've heard you mention before, kind of building personal change through a life audit. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, it's an important step where we want to step in and create change, whether it's something to do with health or career, a relationship, and we forget to stop and review. So we start making a plan without going, what's actually working for me in my life right now? So there's three really important questions. What do I think I want to start doing? What do I know I need to stop doing? And what do I want to continue doing in my life? So what's working for me now?
Right.
So yeah, that's what I mean by doing a bit of a life audit before we go ahead and make any changes.
Yeah, and really taking that time to pause, I guess, too.
Absolutely.
One of the challenges, though, when you come to something like that might be that you carry a lot of old beliefs from your past life in some respects, or maybe bad habits.
Yeah.
How do you actually address that aspect when you're coming to something new?
Yeah, this is the thing, as adults, we are very habitual. We don't like to think we are, because it sounds boring, doesn't it? But we are. We have a lot of set ways that we go about every aspect of our life, and particularly how we think. And what we know is that what we think think impacts how we feel. And so what's going on up here is really important. So taking some time to think about what are the beliefs I have that do serve me really well, and what are the ones that might sabotage my success going forward, or perhaps don't even serve me now.
Okay.
And it can be a little bit interesting to check in on your beliefs and go, are they even mine?
Yeah, you've got to be really honest about that.
Yeah. And sometimes we have beliefs that really we've just got from our parents, and maybe they're great, but maybe we have different ones now that might be more useful, or we're at a different stage in our life. So once you've done your life audit, set yourself up for success by checking what's going on up here in your brain, and also have a conversation with some people around you, you know, to sense check that you're thinking about the right things, and you know, being self-aware is important.
That's the thing right there, self-awareness, because not all of us are good at asking those questions and knowing if we're finding the right answers. So if you're someone that isn't as good at sort of that self-analysis, how would you begin in that way?
Yeah. Do you know, a great way to start is journaling. Like, just start each day by taking a few minutes to write about your day and what you've noticed.
Okay.
So what worked really well, you know, what was the best thing about your day today? What was the worst thing about your day? And once you've done that for a few weeks, you'll start to pick up some patterns about what your days look like and feel like.
Do you do vision boards as well?
Of course I do. Of course.
Yep.
Doesn't
Pinterest
everybody?
all the way?
Yeah, I think it's so important to know where you're heading, and it can adapt and evolve. And this is a really important part of thinking about what change means for us, is that once we get on a roll and we get some really nice momentum happening, it can feel good and we can get a bit carried away, and without stopping to go, which parts of this are working really well for me? And what we know is that the most successful adults are the people who adapt and evolve as they're going.
Right.
You know, so they stretch themselves, they look for opportunities to get outside their network, to have some new experiences, to meet different people. So all of those things help our plan and our growth to keep evolving.
Yeah, and you can check in as you go, Lisa. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Lisa Stevenson with us, and you can follow more of her at her website, of course, and also follow us, Mums at the Table, on socials.
According to the Guardian newspaper, the average woman will use 11,000 tampons in her lifetime. Now, it doesn't make sense to keep using these products when sustainable alternatives are so readily available. And that's why we have Elizabeth Chapman from the Sustainable Period Project joining us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
No worries. I'm very interested. So you, at the Sustainable Period Project, have these boxes. These, what are they called?
They're called a Sustainable Period Project Kit.
Awesome. And they've got some products in here, and I just wanted to see, well, for you to kind of explain what some of the sustainable alternatives are, because I think a lot of women just aren't aware.
That's right.
So we have...
Hold on. What's this thing?
So what we have in this kit, this is a kit which we've designed to... I'm from Lunette Australia, and we are the national distributors for menstrual cups. And what we did is we realised that a lot of people don't know what menstrual cups are or what sustainable options are around. We thought, how can we get the education out to the schools? So we collaborated with a lot of other sustainable period companies. We put together this kit, and we're sending them out to every high school across Australia and New Zealand so that we can educate children and teachers as well.
That is so fantastic.
Okay, first thing, this one, educate. This is a cloth pad. It's reusable. It clips around the knickers that way. Okay, they come in different colours.
Looks like my kid's reusable nappy.
You know, made from the same types of fabrics as well.
Similar function, I suppose.
I bought one of those, and look, I'll be really honest, it grossed me out. I just couldn't bring myself to use it.
Thing?
No, I couldn't. And it's the same with the undies that are out now as well.
Oh, funny you should mention that.
No, well, tell me more about them, because I'm interested, but I'm frightened.
Okay, yeah, and often that can be because we don't really understand them or what they do. So these can hold up to 1 or 2 tampons worth of fluid, and they're really wonderful, especially for the younger children who it's all, you know, it can be a little bit confronting when it happens.
So they don't wear a pad or anything,
No,
they just
they don't.
wear those?
Yep. No, it has like a couple of layers lining in the middle, so it's quite thick, and you can wear them on for a day at school, take them home, just rinse it under the tap, pop it in the wash.
I think that's the bit that frightened me, the washing.
Yeah, they have the odour wicking materials in there as well. So just go in a cold wash with everything else, no fabric softener, and just air dry in the sun.
That's awesome.
Also great for bladder leaks as well.
Yep,
Coffin
I'm there.
come in different
They're becoming
sizes
more
and designs.
popular, aren't they?
They really
Yeah.
are, and they're now in swimwear as well. So.
Oh, really? That is a game changer. Man alive.
And then there's this one.
So this is a biodegradable pad. So your regular disposable pads, they'll take about 500 years in landfill to biodegrade or decompose. These take about 12 months. Oh, so they're a really good alternative. If you still want to have the more traditional things that we're used to, these are really good too.
So and we've got this interesting
finally.
looking thing that I'm fiddling with.
Menstrual cups.
This scares me, honestly.
Yeah. Menstrual cups is definitely a head thing. It's something you really got to get your head around it. So unlike a tampon, these collect fluid, they don't absorb it, so it leaves all of your natural lubrication, everything beautifully intact. So to use it, you fold it. There's lots of different folds. That's a C-shaped fold. To make it really small, it's called a punch-down fold. This isn't my favourite one, but you can make it like quite narrow, so it's almost like the size of a tampon.
Right.
So you fold it, just insert the rim only. Are you all following along?
Yeah, no.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I've started using these, and the more I use it, the more I'm a fan of it.
It will take, you've got to allow yourself a good 2 to 3 cycles to get used to it.
That's what I've done wrong. I've only tried once and I gave up.
Try one. But honestly, if you use one and give yourself 2 to 3 cycles to get used to it, it's going to cost a similar amount to 2 or 3 months worth of disposables. If you decide after that it's not for you, that's okay. You've given it a good go.
Okay, I'm not a tampon person, so is this going to be harder for someone who, you know?
Again, it's a head thing, and you just got to practice, really. But in saying that, tampons, you pop one in and you pull it out, it leaves you quite dry because it absorbs everything. Yeah. These surprisingly slip in quite well.
So I look at the size of that and I go...
You go, no
way. No way. No way.
Yeah. But surprisingly, it does fit in. So it fits in. You can leave it in for up to 12 hours.
12 hours?
Really? Twice as much as a tampon. You can sleep in it. Sport.
That was a question I was going to ask. Can you sleep in it?
You can sleep in it, do yoga, skydive, whatever you like.
So why do women not use this more? Because
look at it.
Yeah. It's frightening, I think. And as you said, it's a head thing, isn't it?
But even like, cloth pads and these alternatives and things like that. So what was your sort of vision behind this, I suppose?
So our vision behind this was that when we first started with menstrual cups about 11 years ago, we found that most people were like, what is that? Like, they've never heard of it before. And then when people get used to it, they're like, why didn't I hear about it earlier? So we thought, well, let's get this out to schools so that when people learn about, your pads and tampons, they can get all of the information about all of the products which are out there, then it becomes a very natural thing.
Normal.
It's normalises periods and it makes it positive. You have a chat
for me, brought up in that generation where we never talked about these things. I'm just looking at it going, whoa.
Yeah, that's right. See, now we talk about it, we discuss which colour would you like. There's so many options with it.
I'd like a purple one.
Yeah, purple for today, and then we'll see which outfit next month.
And of course, it's fantastic for the environment as well. And I think that's a major concern that a lot of people have at the moment.
Yes.
So many benefits. And thank you so much for joining us today. We do have to wrap up there.
Pleasure. That's okay.
But if we want to get our hands on one, where do we go?
So go to our website, www.sustainableperiodproject.org, and you can go online and order a kit for your high school.
And schools can, get them.
Yeah,
I love that. Love it.
And it's free. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, if you've enjoyed today's show, then make sure you check us up on our social media and on our website. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Goodbye and God bless.